Unfortunately, I can't definitively tell you when the start of free agency will be in the summer of 2011, but eventually there will be free agency. And Sean Powell on NBA.com has listed his top 10 free agents, including these 5, the bottom half of that list, starting with DeAndre Jordan, coming out of the LA Clippers. Yao Ming, talk about him a little bit. J.R. Smith, the explosive scorer, most recently of the Denver Nuggets. Greg Oden, speaking of curiosities, and former Sixth Man of the Year, Jamal Crawford. Let's start with Yao Ming, who played just 5 games last season and has missed 159 games the last 2. He's one of those big guys with a foot problem. Historically, that has been a bad thing. If you're a general manager, how do you evaluate the value of Yao Ming?
Well, I think it's tough because as good as he is, he doesn't do you any good if he can't play.
Right.
You know, and you never know what this injury is going to be. At one point, they thought that he was going to be healthy, that he was fine, everything was holding up, and then the next minute he can't play. So I don't know if I would invest heavily on, you know, whether or not he's going to be healthy.
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, you have your trainers and your medical folks who are going to evaluate him the best they can. There are other considerations with Yao Ming as well, and that's marketability for the team worldwide. I mean, he's such a popular figure, obviously, back in his home country of China. Obviously, the basketball folks don't want to hear about that. They want a guy who can play right now, but it's a consideration.
It's definitely a consideration. And from a business standpoint, I definitely would. I would definitely consider it, especially if we needed that, especially if I didn't need him as, you know, in needing to play a lot of minutes. If it was just a thing where I needed him to come in and play some spot minutes, get us over the hump, see how this thing is going to go, and then maybe build his minutes from there, but not really dependent on him, then I would definitely do that.
And it was a nightmare. Remember, at the beginning of last season, the 5 games in which he did play, they weren't going to play him on back-to-back nights. And basically, you're playing 2 different styles at that point if you're the Rockets. A little slower, more of a half-court game when he's in there, and they wanted to run a little bit when he was out. It was kind of a mess, generally speaking.
It is.
Greg Oden is on that list as well. 3 years in the league. He's played the equivalent of 1 full season now, the former #1 overall pick. He's a restricted free agent, probably an easier decision for the Portland Trail Blazers to make. But again, how do you evaluate the value of a guy who's played so little?
Well, I think, you know, I really think some of Greg Oden's issue was really just bad luck in a sense. You know.
Oh, absolutely. He's been snake bitten so far.
So if that's the case, then, you know, I would consider him as being what they sought him to be when they picked him at #1. Make sure that he comes in and we get him healthy, get him strong. With everything comes up, maybe he'll have a little bit more time to really get in and make sure that he's healthy. But I will count on his value. I would just accept him as if we just picked him #1 this year, and hopefully it'll pan out.
And again, a restricted free agent. The Blazers say he's not going anywhere anytime soon, and he's just 23 years of age.
Yeah.
For his sake, you just hope
Big
at
body.
some point he can get himself healthy and show the world what it is he can do, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
All right, Sean Powell's top 5 free agents on NBA.com right now starts with Chris Humphries at #5. What a great story for Chris Humphries, who was basically kind of a journeyman guy until he started putting up numbers with the New Jersey Nets. Marc Gasol, who shined during the playoffs for the Grizzlies. Tyson Chandler of the world champion Dallas Mavericks. They've got a bunch of free agents to worry about this offseason. David West, who just decided to opt out of the final year of his deal. And the big man from Denver, Nene. What do you like in that group?
Obviously, you have to like a Tyson Chandler. You know, I think he has really changed the way that this game has been played nowadays. You can put him at the center position where he can run up and down the floor, he can protect the paint, he can finish. He's always going to give you some extra opportunities from an offensive rebounding standpoint, and it's proven.
Right.
You know, it's proven that with that type of guy, you can win the championship.
Marc Gasol had such a great postseason. He was such a big part of what the Memphis Grizzlies did. They've already re-signed Zach Randolph. They did that at the end of the season. How important is it to the Grizzlies, the way they were playing in the playoffs, to keep Gasol as well?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, with that combination that they had, I don't think you can not factor this guy in as being one of the key guys. So you have to make sure that you sign him back. You have to make sure you keep that team intact and look at what you feel, you know, can get you over the hump. But I think he did a very good job for them. I think he was one of the guys who, night in and night out, you were waiting for him to do something, and he did it. So, you know, he's one of those guys you make sure you have to keep.
Number one, according to Sean Powell, is Nene, coming out of the Denver Nuggets, always among the leaders in field goal percentage. What kind of a team is going to be most attracted to his services?
Well, I mean, when you look at certain teams that don't necessarily have a big guy with that type of presence, you look at the Hawks, you know, who will actually free up Al Horford to do some other things.
Maybe move to power forward, which I think he would like.
Exactly. You look at, I mean, even from I would go out on a limb and maybe say a Boston Celtics who maybe need a guy like that, but I don't know if they can, you know, they can squeeze him with them great players that they have. But his services will be sought after very heavily between, you know, all the teams that are looking for a guy like that. And I'm sure you can't argue that he's not very valuable.
That's the list, the top 10 available free agents, according to Sean Powell on NBA.com. And again, I wish I could tell you when free agency was going to begin.
Hopefully soon.
But I don't know.